James addressed a meeting of the Farm and Power Equipment Dealers Association. He spoke to the gathering about his plans for the state of Alabama and, in particular, its farm industry.
I believe that the export of farm products throughout the world may be the saving grace of the American economy. And we will take action as soon as we can in a disciplined manner to give us additional capacity as needed on our rivers in the Port of Mobile to expedite and enhance farm products from Alabama being sold abroad.
The talk was not all serious, as James explained his current status.
Folks in Opelika, my home county, have told me, Fob, you've won your welcome out here. Now, we've been all embroiled in this campaign for 18 months, and my brother said you've been hanging around and playing him. We're not getting any work out of you, so you're fired. Just get on out of Lee County. We've had enough politics with you for the last 18 months to last us. And then they tell me that I'm supposed to report for work for you down here in Montgomery in mid-January. So when I put that together, that I've been run out of my natural habitat and job in Opelika, and I'm not supposed to report down here till January 15th, I'm not a governor-elect. I'm unemployed right now.
Dennis Latham, WSFA TV News.
Elmore County got off to a disastrous start this season. The Panthers lost the first game of the season to Stanhope Elmore 18-15, and then they had to forfeit the next two games because of an ineligible player.
We had a player that was ineligible, that was too old, that we missed him by age, and as soon as we found out about it, we turned ourselves in. But we still had to forfeit the ball games. We knew that, and we were just proud that we caught it in time, because if we'd waited one more week, we would have been out of the playoffs. We wouldn't have had a chance.
Elmore County is no new team to the playoffs. They have been there 4 of the last 5 years, and they won the state title in 1976.
And last year, of course, we got beat in the first round to Hanley, and Hanley went ahead and were in the final game with Stevenson, got beat 17-16, so we felt like we had about as good a ball club as anybody had last year. It didn't pan out. We didn't prove it, but we do have a chance this year to prove it possibly.
How about individual standouts on the team this year, both offensively and defensively?
Well, offensively, of course, Dale Martin, our quarterback, the left-handed quarterback, has made things go for us all year. His passing as well as his running and his overall coolness. He's real cool and it's calm and doesn't get upset, and he's been that way even last year as a 10th grader. He's just a junior, and we're looking for him in the future. He runs the show, and then Alvin Freeman is our running back, who's gained over 4,100 yards for us in 4 years. And I don't know how many touchdowns he's made, but quite a few.
James Spann, WSFA TV Sports.
Rehabilitation workers from all over the state have been meeting in Montgomery the past 2 days for their annual conference. The conference included training in special education, counseling, and coping with changing roles. Today, the group presented awards in various categories. Receiving the Achievement Award was Robert Vance Watkins of Florence, Alabama. Sarah Rogers of Northport received the Layman's Award. The Secretary of the Year Award was presented to Nina Wallace of Mobile. The Professional Award went to Louis C. Weed of Decatur. The Crippled Children's Accomplishment Award went to 2.5-year-old Darrell L. Howard of Lowndes County. And the first annual Homebound Case of the Year went to the Anniston Area 5 rehabilitation workers. There was a special award presented. It was given to George M. Hudson, the Director of Rehabilitation Services for the Crippled Children. The president of the association, Henry W. Aston of Birmingham, says they hope to educate people about how to rehabilitate crippled children.
Well, the basic purpose of the Alabama Rehabilitation Association is to assist and promote the ideals and the program of services that the State Rehabilitation Service and the State Crippled Children Service do to bring services to the eligible handicapped in the state of Alabama. We have several programs and points that we try to get across. One, as I said, is to assist the state agency. The other is to promote the interest of others in bringing services to the handicapped.
Dennis Latham, WSFA TV News.
Well, as
You, I, and this association have experienced the greatest barrage of media publicity ever perpetrated upon any organization in Alabama. The press and certain state officials have, I think, deliberately attempted to convince the public and even some of our own potential members that the only thing your association or its leadership is interested in is power. They have suggested that teachers are mere sycophants or mindless dupes being manipulated by leadership for selfish gain. The record should be made clear here and now. If this body sounds retreat from those basic decisions of 10 years ago, if this body determines to move from those positions for which it has stood, then retreat it shall be. You are the policymakers. Leadership are the implementers of that policy.
This is a fraud on the insurance company, and it's a fraud to most of the citizens in the city, personally, because their insurance rates automatically climb as the number of incidents climb. And we all pay for this crime that's being committed. But we want to let the citizens know that we are looking at this case of false reports to the police department of robberies that have not occurred, and some of the people that are reporting burglaries in the city. And when we get there to make the report, the amount of items taken is astronomical, and there's never been that much merchandise in the place to start with. But for some unknown reason, the person claims a real high loss in it. This also adds to the high cost of insurance for the other people that are operating a legitimate business. And we're going to open a campaign against this type individual that is inflating his inventory when he reports a burglary. This is a serious problem in Montgomery.
After several drug arrests made in past years at the Civic Center, Mayor Farmer cracked down on drug and alcohol use at concerts. He went so far as to order indiscriminate searches of ticket holders at one concert earlier this year. The searches were later declared unconstitutional. But the mayor's actions caused many promoters to cancel concerts. Today, concert promoter Alex Price brought in several groups for a concert, not at the Civic Center, but at the older Garrett Coliseum. Price says he'd rather have his Slam Jam 78 concert at the Civic Center, but thinks he could get more people to attend at the Coliseum.
We heard of a problem that they had with the police department and the mayor and that, so we just decided to go to the Coliseum with it. We figured that market would be more receptive to a concert.
Do you have other problems, like with police and controlling concerts in other market areas?
No, we never had any problems with the police searching people and that in any other market we went to. And we understood from the management at the Garrett Coliseum that they assured us that this wouldn't happen and this would be the ideal place to do the concert in the Montgomery area.
Would you think that other promoters are keeping groups away from Montgomery because of this problem?
Well, it causes a problem, I think, because there ain't many groups in the country that could actually play a facility the size of the Garrett Coliseum. So most acts would rather play a house, say 6,000 seats or under. Well, at the Coliseum, it's a 12,000 seat house there. So this is why we wanted to go there. We felt that the show would be bigger if we brought it there, and the market would be more receptive to the Coliseum because they didn't have the problems with the police and that.
Nevertheless, Price still thinks he'll have a good crowd because he thinks Montgomery is hungry for a good concert. Glenda Webb, WSFA TV News.
What are you doing now?
Say something or the mayor of the city.
Vanilla? That's right. Oh, I'll have a day in that place.
Reginald Oliver, an analyst with the Public Service Commission, testified today that Alabama Power Company withheld 230,137 electric bills until after it received a rate increase on November 22nd. He said approximately 144,000 bills were prepared with the existing rate, then destroyed and prepared again with the 25% increase. Others were prepared at the higher rates and then held until after November 22nd. Oliver's investigation into the power company's billing procedure followed customer complaints alleging that their bills were withheld until after the increase. John Burks, manager of rates and regulatory matters with the power company, told the court that he had already made up several surcharges, including the 25% increase proposed by Public Service Commissioner Jim Ziegler before Ziegler presented his proposal to the commission. When asked how he knew what he was going to propose, he answered, "I must have read it in the paper." Burks also stated that in the past, several commissioners have come to the power company and asked, quote, "When are you all going to apply for a rate increase because your earnings are slipping?" Several indigent people from across the state testified that the increase in their power bill would cause them to go without necessities, probably without electricity. This hearing continues in the midst of 4,000 recent layoffs by Alabama Power Company in order to decrease their cash outflow. The proceeding is expected to continue at least until tomorrow. From Montgomery County Circuit Court, Janet May, WSFA TV News.
In the 5 privately owned dams on the Coosa River.
Present tonight to stand at this.
Something we don't want to encourage here in Alabama. We don't want Alabama to be like that.
I'm a very active supporter of this great project. I think it's one of the finest projects in the country, and in my judgment, the Congress is going to support us in going right on and completing this project.
I understand your subcommittee in the Congress does have a great deal to do with this.
I am chairman of the Appropriations Subcommittee that makes the annual appropriation for this project as well as all the water projects in the nation.
Only one company can bid out in the county, so there's actually Dunbar, Montgomery County, High, Petalala, and Tacoma. That's with the county board. Therefore, they can't bid against each other.
You can't get one bid in the county, can you?
No competition in the county.
Are their bids in line with the others?
One company county-wide is popular. I bid on that fast for it on a county-wide basis, and one company intimated that they could not serve the county.
Police arrested the youth early this morning and charged him with the November 29th robbery of the Fairview branch of the First Alabama Bank. The juvenile is being detained at the youth detention facility. His name is being withheld. The youth is also a prime suspect in 3 other robberies that occurred in the past 3 months. 2 at First Alabama Bank branches last August, one on the Mobile Highway, the other on South Boulevard. Last month, the Union Bank branch on Court Street was robbed. In each case, the description of the bandit was similar. The announcement of the arrest came at a news conference at police headquarters. Police Chief Charles Swindle used the announcement as an opportunity to review the status of cases handled by the police department this year.
In 1978 to date, we've had 93 business places to be robbed. Of that 93, we've had 38 of them cleared. There's 212 persons in the city reported that they had been robbed by individuals, and we've cleared 79 of those. There was 23 attempts of robbery in the city, and we've cleared 7 of those. We have information on hand at the present time that we hope will clear 2 bank robberies that we had in 1977, 1 year ago.
Glenda Webb, WSFA TV News.
The accident happened at the corner of Decatur and Madison, just down from the state capitol in Montgomery. Accident investigator Glenda Wyatt of the Montgomery PD says the accident involved an auto and a pedestrian.
Well, basically, a black female, approximately 35 years of age, was crossing Madison Avenue southbound when she was struck by a vehicle eastbound on Madison Avenue. She received apparently internal injuries and head injuries, which was the cause of the death.
One eyewitness, Colonel Warren P. Kynard, said it was no small incident.
I stopped and looked up, and the first thing I saw was a black lady in the air, coming over the hood of a car. A wig was in the air, falling, and 2 shoes.
There are a number of witnesses since the accident occurred around the noon hour, and Officer Wyatt says depositions will have to be taken from all of them, along with physical evidence from the scene and an alcohol breath analyzer test result taken before anything else is done.
All the evidence, once compiled, is copies sent to the district attorney's office, and they will in turn present it to the grand jury.
However, still the most difficult question to answer is who was the woman killed? Chris Grimshaw, WSFA TV News.
At 10:30 this morning, Montgomery police detectives were called to Herb's Motel, formerly B's Motel, on the Mobile Highway near the drive-in theater. They were called to investigate a shooting. In room 22 at the motel, police found a 21-year-old black male dead. Montgomery Detective A.T. Alford said the man had been shot through the head with a large caliber weapon. He said a medical investigation determined that the time of death was about 6 o'clock this morning. So far, police have said that the victim is from somewhere in Elmore County and was in a room rented to another person or persons. The body was discovered this morning around 10:20 by Lily Bean, who was beginning the morning chore of changing the linens in the rooms. What happened this morning when you got ready to change the linens?
I come in, unlocked the door, stepped inside, didn't step inside the door, I stepped up to the door there. And I saw this man laying on the dresser. And I didn't know, was he drunk or what, so I stepped outside. Was a man standing right here by the telephone booth. And I asked him, was there was blood on his clothes, and I asked him, was he alive or dead? And he told me, said the man was dead.
What did you do then?
Took off and went to the office.
And what happened after that?
I got the boss man, so they come out.
Do you have any idea who the man was?
No, I don't know.
Investigators for the Montgomery Police Department detectives are still trying to unravel what happened in room 22 either last night or early this morning. Dennis Latham, WSFA TV News.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.
And a Happy New Year. Bring us some figgy pudding.
Bring us some figgy pudding.
Bring us some figgy pudding. Bring it right here.
Glad tidings we bring
to you and your friends.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.
And a Happy New Year.
The Blue-Gray Classic was first played on the 2nd of January, 1939, when William Gunter was the mayor of Montgomery and Bibb Graves the governor of Alabama. On that cold day, Crampton Bowl was virtually packed with fans waiting to see the top players from the South do battle with the Yankee Gridiron Stars. The Blue-Gray Classic was handled by the city of Montgomery for the first 8 years, and in 1946 the game was turned over to the Blue and Gray Cradle Association, then composed of a combination of Montgomery's business leaders and civic clubs under the direction of Champ Pickens. There were some outstanding players that fought in the early Blue-Gray Classics. Charlie Trippi of Georgia in 1944, Alabama's Harry Gilmer in 1946, and Travis Tidwell of Auburn in 1949, to name just a few. In 1955, the Montgomery Lions Club purchased all rights to the game. The Lions still use proceeds from the annual event for its charitable projects. The Blue-Gray game perhaps went through its most successful period in the 1960s, with players like Fran Tarkenton in 1960 and D.D. Lewis in 1968. In the last few years, attendance has dropped off at the Blue-Gray game, and Executive Director Chuck Mills says the problem isn't as much ticket sales as it is getting people in the stands.
Probably could be better, but it's not anything where they've sold as many this year as last year. But it comes game day, why people in their hometown take it for granted. I've said it so many times before that outside of Montgomery and outside of this area, the Blue-Gray is a big game. I followed it ever since I was a little kid, and now I'm an old bald-headed man. But in the community, maybe they take it for granted, and the TV people are concerned about people not being in the stands. They say they have a hard time selling their show to advertisers, and they're not interested in charitable contributions. I mean, they want a product they can sell. But if we can get the people of Montgomery to get behind it and realize what it does do for all the people in Montgomery, then I think we have something, and we have one day where everybody looks in and sees Montgomery, Alabama.
This year's game is Friday, December 29th at 1 p.m., and plenty of tickets are available. James Spann, WSFA TV Sports.
What started out as a Public Service Commission investigation into mileage charges by telephone companies has now blossomed into a complex system of give-and-take proposals. South Central Bell, the utility in question, is contending that if it does give consumers those reductions, they would amount to nearly $1 million in revenue losses to the utility. Therefore, at the request of the PSC, they've submitted data that would add higher charges on other services, ultimately ending up with a zero revenue impact to the utility. In their data, there is information dealing with lowered intrastate toll charges and a new directory assistance charge, and 6 other issues to the consumer's benefit. The Office of Consumer Protections, however, is holding to the view that mileage charges should never have been levied originally. Determining that question is the meat of the beef. Should they be compensated for the near $1 million loss in revenue? That question is still unanswered. The overall air at the meetings is of slight confusion, with many interested parties not wanting to drop the discussion on their areas of interest. There are sources, however, that indicate that the meetings and the question will end within the next 30 days before Commissioners Jim Ziegler and Chris Whatley leave office. At the Public Service Commission hearing rooms, Chris Grimshaw, WSFA TV News.
The House chamber greeted many new faces yesterday in the first organizational meeting of that body. Normally, the new members of the House and Senate get together in a regular organizational session, but the House leadership scheduled this meeting in an effort to give the new House members more help adjusting to their new duties. House Speaker Joe McCorkadell said the session started with a general overview of the operations of the House and then moved into various services and departments each of the new members will have to be acquainted with in order to process their legislation once the regular session gets underway.
Clerk of the House, Mr. Pemberton, came forward with the duties and responsibilities of the clerk's office. And so then we introduced him to the Secretary of the Senate, Mr. McDowell Lee. And then we had the budget officer, Jimmy Rayford, came forward and explained to them the funding and budgeting process and also the revenue projections and the condition of the revenue in the state at this time and some of the sources of revenue. And then we came with the Legislative Reference Service. Lou Green came up, explained to them the necessity of their department working on legislation and the services provided as far as drafting legislation, bills, resolutions, and doing research as well. We had Rex McDowell from the Legislative Fiscal Office in his area of expertise to explain to them the services rendered by that department. And
House Speaker Joe McCorkadell also told the new House members that Fob James will call at least one and perhaps 2 special sessions of the Alabama legislature early next year. He said one emergency session will be called to delay the start of the 1979 regular session to give him more time to work on a budget. 50 out of 52 new members showed up at the organizational meeting. And House Speaker Joe McCorkadell says that shows a very healthy interest that the new legislators have in state government. Dennis Latham, WSFA TV News at the House chambers at the state capitol.
Elvin is very capable, and all of you know him that have worked with him. And this will take place Monday morning as well.
Do you have any particular memories, any memories outstanding about working here with Governor Wallace these many years?
Well, Dennis, almost so many memories that it would be difficult to pick out some, but of course there are times that stand out, and that many times that I will long remember. I'll say this, it's been a fast 8 years. It's been an interesting 8 years, and it's been 8 years of hard work, sometimes long hours, but it's the type work and the type hours that you do not mind. And Governor Wallace, I've said this before, he's the greatest guy a fellow could ever work with. And I've had many bosses in various jobs that I've had, and he's the finest one I've ever had because he tells you what he wants you to do, points you in the direction, and lets you do it. And this, I think, is the way it should be. It has been, well, an honor for me to serve him, to work with him, and to have this opportunity to serve the people of Alabama, and in my opinion, the people of the nation, because I think Governor Wallace's tenure in office has been more than just an Alabama program. It's been more than a regional program. It's been a national program that probably reaches worldwide.
The Montgomery Police Department has begun special canine patrols at the major shopping areas. A specially trained dog and officer will be patrolling the areas around the malls and shopping centers. Major L.A. Pierce of the Montgomery Police Department says they hope to provide better protection for shoppers through this program.
It's to give the shoppers more security, and they're walking to and from their cars to the shopping center and back, and help to cut down maybe on some shoplifters, some purse snatchers, and also people who might break into cars to steal Christmas packages and goods that the people has bought.
How long has this program been in effect in Montgomery?
This program just started yesterday afternoon, and it will run through Christmas. They're working the 3 major shopping centers here in Montgomery: Eastdale, Montgomery Mall, and also Normandale. And they'll be working from 2:30 in the afternoon to 11 o'clock at night.
What are some of the things that the patrol will be doing?
They'll be walking around the perimeter of each shopping center. They'll be walking out in the lots where the cars are parked. They'll be walking to and from with people who has large packages, and just to protect them, keep people from knocking them down, maybe snatching a purse, stealing their goods such as this.
The dogs are trained not only to attack or protect, but they're also trained to be calm and obedient. The police also have a bloodhound available within the same program in order to track down a suspect. So if you're traveling in the major shopping areas and you think the police department is going to the dogs, you're right, at least for the Christmas season. Dennis Latham, WSFA TV News.
Help your children through your divorce. But first, a station break.
Dick Clark's Live Wednesday with Diana Ross, Christy and Jimmy McNichol, Muhammad Ali, and more.
Tortilla is what I once said during one of the stand-ups, by the way, and we corrected that. We're talking Gene Shalit about...
We're joining this program now in progress.
You what?
I did. I was doing one of the tapings. It was late in the day, and I was tired, and Mexican nationals should take no offense whatsoever because this was something that never appeared on the air, but it's one of the bloopers that occasionally happens in television, and I said, and tomorrow on the Today program, I'll be talking with Mexico's President Lopez Tortilla. And it's Lopez Portillo. It knocked down the camera crew at that point. We're going to share with you, as we rarely do, some of the problems that we had in televising this program from Mexico. The first morning that we were there in Cuernavaca, first of all, it was a 2-hour time difference the other way. We had to be up in the middle of the night. We stayed at this Shangri-La kind of hotel, all of us, in the garden-like setting and everything, and didn't get to enjoy it much because we had to get up at, what, 3 o'clock that morning?
It's 2:30 here.
2:30, that's right. 2:30 to get up to go off and do the program in Cuernavaca, where we had been assured by the tourism officials, it never rains in the morning.
Never.
Never. We're going on the air 5 o'clock Mexico time. At 4:30 Mexico time, the rain god woke up and struck with a vengeance. It rained like you cannot believe. I mean, they got 2 new jungles out of that rain in the first 15 minutes. It was unbelievable. The sheets of rain coming down. We are set up to do the whole program in the square in Cuernavaca.
We got up at about, I guess we all hauled out around 3:30 or so. At that point in the morning, it was beautiful and balmy, and I had on a little sweater and little pants. Just, it was so pretty. A little lightning off in the distance, no problem.
Rain in the mountains,
the boss,
I kept saying.
The boss claims, Paul Friedman, that he woke up with a dream that B-52s were scrambling. And
He didn't
we
know
were in
where.
Mexico, and we were going to miss it. I think he must have heard lightning off in the distance or something. But it came in no time, and I had a friend who's seeing the show wondered if I'd borrowed somebody's jacket because it started raining, and it became very, very cold. And I threw on a jacket and
So
looked real terrific.
Well, I'm going to tell you, it rained where Paul Friedman and I were standing under the portico of Cortez Palace in Cuernavaca with 2 hours of network programming facing us like this. Jane across the square in the Zocalo.
Huddling under an umbrella.
Huddling under an umbrella. We saw 3 otherwise promising careers washing down the Cuernavaca gutter at that point.
I was with the Cuernavaca Municipal